Super. BS.
Heidi ho, neighboroonies. It's me, your baby boy Brank, and I'm joined by
so much pressure here. Josh today, just Josh Jankerson.
Josh Jankerson. I like that name. Old JJ himself.
Yeah,
everybody knows,
JJ,
everybody loves.
JJ Jankerson, head of the
JJ
Daily Bugle.
Jankerson, head of the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
Like the Daily Butt Goal. Bing! Doesn't even make sense. What have you been playing, my bro?
So I played, was it Crosscode, I think it's called, on Xbox.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to play that.
It's fun. It's very like JRPG-ish, you know? Like you have your main character who has amnesia and, and they're playing this MMORPG to kind of like get their memories back, and it's top down, and the combat is very fluid. Like it's really feels like a great game. It's a nice nostalgia trip, but you get to upgrade your equipment. Like it is a full on like old JRPG, but it looks new, and you don't have separate battle screens. You kind of just like fight as you go, and there are villages and stuff to where you can upgrade your equipment and level up and do all that. So I love it. I mean, so far I love it, but I mean, like it's a good game. It's fun. If you get a chance, check it out. I've also been playing. Went back to play.
Wait, real quick though,
Yeah.
about Crosscode. Is it like? Did you ever play The Secret of Mana or any of the Mana games? Is it kind of like that, where action adventure overworld with RPG elements, and then you're kind of going through and go to towns or whatever?
Yeah. The story is a lot cheesier than the Mana games, which the Mana games stories do have some, major cheese to them. But I mean, this is like if a video game was written by like a teenage girl, like that's kind of what this game would be like. But I mean,
well, you didn't tell everyone the conceit, so that might make a lot more sense, like what the game is.
Oh, basically like it's a JRPG top down. You're an amnesiac girl and you are trying to like get your memories back. So you dive into this game. I forget what the game is called, and it's like Sword Art Online. Like they go into the game, and you're fighting things and you're going to villages. Like you are inside this game trying to get your memories back. Like it is. It's an anime, like it's a typical anime, but it's a video game. So it's fun. There's no separate battle screen, so don't expect it to be like the old Final Fantasy games. But it has a lot of stuff that will remind you of those old games.
Yeah, it's an MMO within an action adventure JRPG style game. That's what I thought is kind of interesting. I generally hate that conceit. I wasn't excited for that idea here either, but I do think it's whatever. It's a neat thing that a lot of people will probably dig. It looks really good. I think the graphic style is like pretty great.
It's really great. Like you get a lot of the little text bubbles at the bottom. The combat is my favorite thing about this because it's fluid. Like you don't feel like it doesn't stop anything. You kind of just move. It almost has like this Devil May Cry vibe to it. Like it's not, it doesn't look like Devil May Cry, but you just swing your sword around and do your thing, and then you can just keep walking.
You shoot orbs.
Right? Yeah, and you can upgrade your weapons. Like you have weapons in the game. You don't just shoot orbs.
Okay.
You can swing weapons. But yeah, I mean, I'm digging what I played so far. I'll probably have a little bit more to say about it, next time.
Got to get that on Games Pass, bro. It's there. It's free.
Yeah, and so
it's free $99 if you paid the $1.
Also, I have been playing more Master Chief Collection. Went back and I'm about halfway through Halo. I have a hard time with those games just because like I love them, but I've played them so many times. I'm just not interested enough. I'm kind of just like dragging myself through it.
Yeah, I started Reach after we talked. It was a lot of fun. I've been playing some other stuff. But yeah, I can see that with especially Halo 1 and maybe Halo 2. Halo 2 I don't think I've ever replayed, but Halo 1 I've played so many times. It's like I know what's happening and what's coming. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun, but it's hard when it's not like they modernized it. It still holds up well, but I like my aim down sights and I like my sprint.
Yeah.
Halo 1 does not have those things. It's harder to play those games now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's a different type of game.
Yeah, and you know where everything is. So I'm finding like I have it set to heroic, and I'm basically just walking through the entire game. Like I don't have to stop. I'm not like dying or anything. I just walk through, do the shooting, walk to the next thing. Like it's almost there's no challenge there anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I'm sure that if I played the library on Legendary, I'd be breaking controllers. But I mean, it doesn't have it's not as fun as it was.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that collection is ridiculously good. But yeah, I can see that being just like it gets kind of old at times playing that game. But the fact that it's, one of, I think, 5 or 6 Halo games now in one collection is just astonishing. Just those two, or have you been playing anything else?
I mean, that's really it right now. It's been I haven't done a lot of gaming this week. What about you though? What have you been playing?
I played 2 games from their like Xbox summer demo thingy. I played a game called Cris, which is pretty cool. The demo, I assume, is on all 3 platforms and probably PC as well. But it was on Switch and Xbox, and I played it on Switch. And it's neat. It's like a JRPG, maybe like a Flash animation style, but much nicer than that. Okay. And it's 2D characters on a 3D plane, so you kind of move around. And the screen is divided into 3, like past, present, and future. And you can press the buttons to go between the 3, and you can affect things. And, it seemed like an early build. It's supposed to come out this year, which seems lofty. It seems like it should have some more time cooking. But I really dug it. I thought it looked really nice. Have you got a chance to check that one out, Cris?
No, I didn't get a chance to play any of the Microsoft games, the demos that were out. I wanted to. I just didn't get a chance to sit down and do it. What I have loved about a lot of these Microsoft games coming out is that like they look like they're, the animation is not that of a AAA studio, but it looks good, and a lot of these games look like they are very fluid, and that's something that that is what's going to get me into a smaller game. Like, is the gameplay good, and does it pop? Like, can I play it where I don't have the problem like Final Fantasy VII did, where I can't play it at certain times of day? Like that, I want something that will really stick out, and something that is doesn't feel clunky, and that's what a lot of these new games coming out look like. They feel very fluid.
Yeah, and just to clarify, none of these are made by Microsoft or for Microsoft. They're just hosting this like demo on their store, like this public demo. And then I played, but yeah, I agree. There's a lot of really unique things, and I tried a game called YesterMorrow, which is another time traveling like 2D, looks like a Metroidvania style game, and from what I played, which was just the super early build, it's pretty cool. If it came to Games Pass, I would definitely give it another try. Since it is a demo, I generally lose interest in demos pretty early on, because if I like them, it's like, well, I have to replay this. And if I don't like them, it's like, well, I tried this. So I think the art style is really nice. It also seems like it needs quite a bit of time. There were like several sections where the frames were down to like single digits, and it looked like it was just chugging. So it's probably made in Unity and probably needs a little bit more time before it's totally done. But those were cool. I still have a bunch of them downloaded. It seems like the never ended. It seems like even though it was supposed to only be a week, like maybe I can't find Skatebird, so maybe they pulled that one, but the other ones all are still there. So I'm just gonna like slowly make my way through them when I have like a chance here or there.
Yeah.
And then I've been playing a ton of Ghost of Tsushima. Like, I am in Act 3 now. I'm, like, pretty close to finishing the game. I'm probably going to 100% it. I really dig that game. It is junk food. It's Assassin's Creed Odyssey in, whatever. I can't remember what it's called, but Shogun era Japan. It's a blast. I really, really like it. So yeah, I've just been making my way through that, man. Have you got a chance to go back to it yet?
I have. I didn't play any of it this week. I kept thinking about it, and then I ended up watching TV instead. So
what TV show did you watch for new?
I've been on to
show.
like His Dark Materials. I started watching Doom Patrol. Well, I got HBO Max, so I've been kind of like going through
I have that too.
their catalog there. But Ghost of Tsushima is something I'd like to go back to. Is it? Do you find? I mean, are you finding that as you get further into the game, the combat gets easier, or is it kind of does the challenge increase as you go on? Does the challenge kind of stay the same, or is it like Borderlands, where like you go to a certain area and these enemies are really easy?
So I'm playing it on hard, which I did because people had mentioned that it was easy, like some early reviewers, and I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely don't want a game where I'm just like ultra powerful and just running, because why play as an assassin if you can just run in and kill everybody easily, right?
Right.
In Act 2, right when you finish Act 1, when you get to Act 2, it's really challenging. There's a difficulty spike because all the enemies get stronger the second you move to the next act. So I was like, oh man, this is really, really hard, and there's new enemy types, and they're difficult. And as time goes on, you get really good. So the only challenges I really had there were the duels. I don't know if you've done any of those yet. They're really cool, but they're like a totally different combat style where it's, one-on-one. You can't use any of your gadgets because that's the thing too. I've upgraded all my gadgets, so I'm like, smoke bombs, kunai, all that stuff. They kill guys. Like I throw 3 kunais, and pretty much if they hit, they normally kill, except for
those are the knives, right?
Yep.
I really dig those. Like that's one of my favorite parts about that game.
Yeah, I got all of those, and then I upgraded all the pouches so I can like hold the max amount of everything. So I can run into most camps, especially at the end of Act 2, and just like throw those in, switch to another thing, throw that, then do like you get special moves by doing your mythic tales. Do a special move, kill 3 more guys, and then you get more things that help. So then it's like I'm pretty much unstoppable. And then you get to Act 3. And then they boost everybody up again. And now I'm at, like, I think I need to go to someplace to upgrade my sword. But I'm at the final sword upgrade. Have the hidden knife is totally upgraded. All my bows are upgraded. The only thing I've left to do is upgrade, like, a couple pieces of armor and like, some of the stances. I didn't really put any technique points into those. So I've got to do some of those. But, yeah, it's getting easy again. I definitely can't just like run into a camp on Act 3 right now again because like they're so powerful that 2 or 3 guys will kill me. It's almost impossible to beat them because they'll also have guys who will do different types of damage that you haven't experienced yet. And if they hit you with the bow, then you've got to deal with that, and that's really tricky.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the story's also gotten a lot better. It is very cliche. It's very easy to follow. It's very samurai film. So it's not like surprising, but it is really well done. Yeah. So like I'm digging it, especially because Act 1, to be honest, didn't seem that interesting at all. Like, I enjoyed meeting the people and stuff, but it wasn't like, whoa, this is so cool. And then the beginning of Act 2 is just like, Act 2 is crazy long. It's the biggest section of the game. Like I thought Act 1 was big, and then you get to Act 2 and you're like, whoa. This is crazy long. There's tons of really challenging things.
Do you get insane. More like side quests as you go on? Like do more like little things pop up on the map, or do you have to actually go? Because I noticed with this game you have to actually go and talk to people in the villages, and that opens up side quests. So is there more to do in terms of side quests in the second act?
Yeah, so you probably remember, and I think we talked about this last week, there's really generic side quests just called Tales, and there are tons of those. I really think they should just removed half of those from the game. You get those in every place. And then there's kind of the less generic Tales, but also Tales, where you help one of like, I think it's 5 characters, 5 main people, 6. And they have between 3 and 9 quests to finish, Tales to do. Yeah. So those the ones that have 9 span all 3 islands. So I still haven't finished like all of theirs. So, and those, the 2 of those are really interesting. I got to the point where I'm like, oh man, I want to know what happens, but I got to move to the next island. So yeah, though it gets a lot better all around. The game just keeps getting better and better. It's kind of like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like the more time you spend with it, obviously the more rewarding it's going to be.
Right.
You're just going to keep gaining stuff from playing it. But yeah, it's, I don't know, man. I'm really, really digging it. I think at this point I'm willing to say it's my favorite game to play this year. I don't know if it's better than Last of Us Part 2, but I've had the most fun playing it.
Yeah,
I had a little bit of like, cheer from Animal Crossing at the beginning, but this is just more fun.
Yeah. Well, okay, so did you see the guy that the director of Yakuza had said in an interview that he's like, when you are foreigners making a game about Japanese culture and Japanese people are actually enjoying it, like that's when you know that that's a game that should have been made by Japanese people.
Yeah, Japan's really nationalistic, so I saw that and I was like, okay, I get it. Like, nobody gets angry when they make their, a Smallville, USA or Small Town, USA.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was getting angry. I think it was more like praise.
Yeah, I think it was misinterpreted. And, you know how IGN shapes everything out to be controversial, but I think I'm pretty sure he was praising it. He was just kind of saying, like, how come Japanese people don't make a game like that?
Yeah, and I think he is from that studio that does kind of make like modern daily life style games, if you will. Like Yakuza isn't some like grandiose story. You're in a city essentially solving crime or doing stuff. And most Japanese games are like either supernatural or RPGs, so they don't really do, at least in my mind, I don't know a ton of just third-person open world
surreal
action RPGs.
Feeling games, yeah.
Yeah. And this game is very grounded. I expected there to be some supernatural stuff. I haven't run into really any yet. Like, I thought there might be, because Japan has a lot of folklore and stuff, and I thought maybe this is going to be Assassin's Creed Odyssey style thing where you also fight mythical style beings. So I think maybe he's talking about that. Maybe he really liked that because, I've played very little Yakuza, and I know it goes strange places, but the stuff I have played is just very, like, grounded. You're getting in fist fights and stuff with people. You're not like, it's silly grounded, and it's like ridiculous in some ways, but it's not like, oh, you shoot a guy through the wall and then Akira style, he blows up the ground beneath. It's not like that ridiculous, like Gods Among Men style thing. Like I feel like a lot of anime and manga and stuff is. So I think that's what he was like criticizing. But I don't know, man. It's a great game. Somebody who did not care for Infamous, like I played Second Son and I dug the hour or so I played. Like, this is really good. I never played Sly Cooper. I played like a demo of it when we were young, and I played like a little bit Infamous.
It does not even really resemble Infamous at all. Like it almost, you wouldn't even assume that it was the same studio that made that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that somebody pointed out, and I don't have enough experience, I did play some of Second Son, is some of the character animations are the same. Some of the ways that like the character in Second Son moves is the same way that Jin moves, like the way he jumps and runs
that would
and
make
things
sense.
like that. But yeah, I mean, they're probably building off whatever tech they designed for that Second Son thing and then like making it better because it's a lot of work to do that stuff. But yeah, man, I am loving it. Do you have anything you're excited for in August before we get to our news?
No, I don't. I mean, when does Avengers come out? I don't know if I think
that's September.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's one I don't know if I probably won't buy on release, but like I am curious to watch it and see how it does.
Yeah, for me, August is kind of a very slow month, at least what we've been shown so far. But I think September, between Avengers and the Tony Hawk remake, which I'm really more excited about Tony Hawk, I think it will at least be a better month than the one we're in right now. I think August is going to be a very slow month for gaming.
Do you think we'll get that second Xbox conference in late August like everyone keeps talking about? I know Phil Spencer kept hinting at it.
Let's go to the news, and then we'll get into this stuff. Peace.
Super PS.
Okay, now we are back. Yeah, so you asked about the next Xbox conference. So Sony just announced a state of play for, I think, this Friday, August 6th. It could be Thursday. I think it's Thursday, actually. They said they are not going to announce pricing or any hardware stuff. So no release date, no pricing.
Well, what's the point then?
Yeah.
What is this going on for?
This is chicken, man. We are watching what is the strangest, craziest match of chicken two companies have ever done. Neither of them wants to go first. I think Sony's really, really scared of announcing their price because I'm pretty positive it's going to be more expensive than the Series X, even though a lot of people, including Gabe Newell, the owner of Steam, has said the Series X is a more powerful console. And there's a lot of like rumors, he said that because Sony now invests in Epic and blah, 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 like all this other stuff. But anyways, yeah, I think Microsoft would like to wait for Sony to undercut them. You know, why sell for a higher price when you can, or why sell for like a ultra low when you could sell for like a reasonable price and still undercut Sony?
Couldn't they technically like go for like? Couldn't Microsoft technically go first and say, "Hey, we're selling this console at $400," and then Sony will come out and laugh and go, "Ha, we're gonna sell ours at $375," and then couldn't Microsoft just go, "Okay, well, we'll sell ours at $350," then? I mean, it doesn't seem.
I don't think so, man. I don't know if you remember the original message for the Xbox One, but people for, I think, 2 to 3 years after Xbox One came out, even though they went back and they said, hey, we're not doing any of those things, said, I don't want a console that always has to be online and I can't play any of my physical discs, even though they reversed that 1 month after it was announced, or maybe it was 2 months. Yeah, most people aren't going to follow the news. So once they see the big price and it goes up on Yahoo News or CNN or wherever that will go, because that one will be big, they will not get the retraction one. So honestly, this matters. And Sony, a lot of people are thinking the Sony console is going to be very, very expensive. That's
they're always
SSD
very
that they have
expensive.
is insane.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the PS3. Like their console was so expensive that they had to make 2 versions of it.
Yeah, but think about why Sony's in the lead right now. They sold a console for $100 lower. They had almost no first-party support at the... I mean, that's not true. They had 2 games that they launched with, Knack and Killzone Shadow Falls. But I want to say Bloodborne wasn't for a year and a half after that. So, yeah, man, the main thing that matters for the majority is the price. So, and you're right. Yes, Microsoft could come in really, really, really low. But why do that when there's a good possibility Sony's consoles are going to be $550 for the discless and $600 for the disc? Why come in at $400? Why not come in at $450?
Yeah,
you know, you still make some money.
That's still like even guessing that like that's an insane price, man. Like I think anything
that's what people are assuming.
I know, but I mean anything above 500, I just don't see them. I don't see this being like the last gen where like they're selling out of pre-orders immediately. Everyone's lining up to get these things. If they're gonna go above $500, I don't see the hype train being what it was last time around. Because I mean, look at the people are still laid off right now. You know, it's not where are those funds gonna come from?
As somebody in that position, I totally know what you mean, man. But here's the thing. We've got fanboys who are like, hey, it's fine. If it's $600, I'll still pay for it. There are a decent amount of people did not get laid off. I want to say it's 60 or 70% are still working, or even maybe higher than that, maybe 80 if they had a job previous to this. But the price matters. The price matters the most. It's going to be expensive. They're making top-of-the-line consoles, and Microsoft is putting all of their games this year on their previous console as well. There's also a rumor that Sony's going to put that Spider-Man Miles Morales potentially on PS4 as well. So there might not even be a reason to buy either of those consoles unless you're like early adopter, you know, like I got to have the new thing. I need it. And I think that's what they're going to go for. So we'll see, man. But that price really matters, and it's just so strange to be. We're now 3 months away from the latest they'd release it, which is November, and that would be the latest.
We have no idea,
and we have no date and no price.
They have. I don't know. I feel like something has to be announced by mid-September.
It will. I think by mid-September they will, but I mean, considering we already knew everything by May, the last time when this happened, it's kind of insane. We're going to August, and Sony is going to do another state of play and still not announce the things people are expecting. Maybe they'll surprise us, but they said they would.
Yeah, I mean, they need. Well, so they said it's going to be like PS4 games and PSVR.
Yeah, and VR.
There's going to be a couple PS5 games, but so I don't know, man. I think they're not doing a service to their market though, because a lot of people it could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months for them to set aside enough money to buy one of these. So I think they're.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you remember Jim Ryan's quote, but he wants this to be an aspirational console, meaning you need to aspire to own a PS5, meaning like it's gonna be insanely expensive. Like that's like people wanting to own a home or a Tesla. You normally don't put aspirational when you're talking about something that people can go out and buy easily.
Yeah. I feel like this is going to harm. I mean, if that's the case, like it could even harm a good part of the industry too. Like all the people reviewing these games. Hey, let's talk more about these games that you can't afford to play. So, I mean, it just, I don't know. It seems like it would be, if it's what you say it's going to be, like it's just, I don't see it doing much good for people.
Yeah, so I think that's where, and I feel bad because I definitely feel like we are biased in terms of liking what Xbox does and Microsoft's done recently, but I think that's where you see Microsoft's strategy actually being really good in that Games Pass comes to kind of everything, and they're, I think, releasing xCloud in October as just part of Games Pass, so you can play your games on your phone or computer or whatever digitally through the cloud streaming if you want. But yeah, that's where it's good. We're like, yeah, Halo's coming to my Xbox One. I have an Xbox One X. I picked up for $300 a while ago. I will probably be playing Halo Infinite on that. I really highly doubt I will buy a Series X this year.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with these games coming to Games Pass on day one, like there's not really. I would like to have a new Xbox, but I mean, yeah, if it's in an insane price point, then no, I don't need it in the immediate future.
I think the Series X will either be cheaper than the PS5 or launch at the same price as the lower end PS5. I think Microsoft hopefully has learned their lesson and they will not do a higher priced console. I think they had to release the Xbox One X at $500 because it was just so much more powerful than the PS4 Pro. Even though I think they probably should have just taken their losses and released at $400. I think a lot more people would have picked one up.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we're still in a weird spot where there's a lot of standard PS4 owners and original Xbox One or Xbox One S owners. So if these companies can't get people to at least get to their second stage, like their mid-generation swap, I can't even imagine how bad some of these games are going to run. Like when they released Call of Duty Black Ops 3 on 360 and PS3, I remember reading reviews and seeing pictures of them. They looked like N64 games. Like they were bad. Because they knew like, this isn't our market. This is just, we're doing this to get to those extra people who still buy Just Dance on Wii. You know, like the we're never moving on group. We're staying here. About other Sony news, and I'm surprised this wasn't actually launched in the State of Play, but they are getting a Spider-Man as a DLC exclusive character, or maybe not DLC, but he's an exclusive character to the Avengers game only on PlayStation 4. So you must own a PlayStation to be able to play Spider-Man, a character for a multi-platform Avengers game. And I don't know, man. I own both the consoles. It doesn't really matter to me that much, but I do feel weirded out because I will read internet comments about this stuff. And it just seems so weird how people are willing to let Sony slide on weird exclusive junk like this. And then if Microsoft has, we're about to talk about some of our favorite Xbox games today too, but if they have an exclusive for 1 year, like Rise of the Tomb Raider, that was like blood in the water. Everybody needs to attack them.
Right.
Kill them.
Everyone's like, because Tomb Raider's originally a PlayStation game. You know, it's like, yeah.
That was super annoying, especially because that happened after Street Fighter V was launched exclusively for Sony. Like, will Sony help pay for that? I'm pretty positive Microsoft helped pay for a lot of Tomb Raider as well. We're in a weird place. This one seems especially egregious to me because I think it's cross-play, the Avengers is. I want to say that was something they talked about. I could be wrong.
So if you are playing with somebody on an Xbox, can you use Spider-Man?
No, never. So it's because Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, if I remember correctly, from
that
the
makes
crazy
sense. Yeah, the whole Tom
nonsense,
Holland, Andrew Garfield thing.
Yeah, the Marvel, and then Marvel sold their rights to a bunch of different people. Sadly, Microsoft never bought any of them.
I'm curious
it's just this weird thing.
I'm curious if the rights get sold once they get the rights for the movies, if the rights to the video game rights go with that.
I think they own the rights
works.
to the character. Like, I think they own the rights to Spider-Man, but I'm not 100% sure because they did release, like, Spider-Man games on 360 and on, the Xbox One. They've had Spider-Man games, so I don't know how that works. I honestly am so confused how they got this exclusive because this game is not just coming to PlayStation, it's coming to Xbox as well.
Yeah.
And this is, in some ways, I get it. Square Enix is a Japanese company, and like I mentioned with that Yakuza, there is a lot of nationalism in Japan. Whatever, teach their own. Like that's, I'm not as like, oh man, it's bad. You like your country, but at the same time, when it is stuff like this, it does get really annoying. It's like, oh, okay, so you're gonna release your game on 2 platforms, but anybody who bought the US platform is going to kind of get gypped, So. And I don't know if it's that, but whatever the case is, it's definitely sold me less on the game again because I was probably going to get on Xbox. I have an Xbox One X. It's more powerful. That's where I get my multi-platform games. I now have I had very little interest before. I now have even less interest. Because it's like, oh, there's another character I don't get if I buy it on the console I wanted to buy it on.
Honestly, like I have never liked the console exclusivity thing. Sony did it has done it with Call of Duty games. I know Microsoft has done it at some point. I can't remember any specific examples off the top of my head, but I don't know.
They did a lot during the 360. It was like the exact reverse in the 360 era, and all of us were on the 360 bandwagon. So because it was a cheaper console and better, and so a lot of us didn't mind. And that's exactly what's happening now on the reverse. And so, yeah, I am way more okay with games being exclusive than some of this like weird timed stuff. Yeah. Like we just played Final Fantasy VII Remake. The fact that that's only exclusive for 1 year, that stuff's just weird. Like I get why they're doing it for the PS5 games because it's like, and the Xbox One or Xbox Series X games where it's like, oh, you need something to launch with, you need something to sell people. But like a console that already sold 100 million and then gets like a exclusive, like for 1 year. It's weird, but like the ones that really bother me are like this, the DLC exclusives. Like I bought Destiny still on Xbox One, but they got PlayStation users got content that I don't know if Microsoft ever got, or was it a year or 2 after it released? So at some point, to me, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like
I mean, it's a disservice to people who can't afford to buy multiple consoles, and they want to play certain things. It's kind of, I don't know, it's mean, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it would be a lot easier pill to swallow if they took the Soul Calibur approach and were like, okay, Sony gets Spider-Man, Microsoft gets Wolverine. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, and PC gets, I don't know, whoever that purple guy is, the Vision or whatever his name is.
The Vision.
Is that his name? What's that guy's name? He's
Vision. The guy played by Paul Bettany.
Vision. Yeah, Paul Bettany. I love that guy from a football movie that I cannot remember, but it was like the Knockdowns or the Adam Sandler. No, it wasn't Adam Sandler. It was
The
Keanu
Longest
Reeves.
Yard?
No,
Oh, I know
yeah,
what you're
Keanu
talking
Reeves.
about. The Replacements.
The Replacements. Yeah, I watched that movie a lot as a kid, so I love Paul Bettany in that.
The one football movie nobody remembers.
Yeah. So yeah, man. That's what it is, though. So we'll see if this changes anyone's mind. I did see a lot of kind of frustration online. Then I saw obviously all the fanboys being like, well, da, 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 da. And so I don't know. For me, I don't know if I was ever getting Avengers. This definitely has even limited my hype. I know you were pretty hyped about it though.
I'm not like really hyped about it. It's something that like I'm interested in. You know, I've seen enough gameplay to be like, okay, that looks like something I would want to play if it were on sale. So I mean, I'm interested just to see like what people's thoughts are, what some of the gameplay looks like once it's in the everyman's hands. But you know, it's not,
I think they're gonna have a beta. I think this month, so you can try it. Again, some more Sony exclusive stuff. I think the beta is open on PlayStation and a closed beta on PC and Xbox. So it's another one where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, if you have a PlayStation, it's going to be really easy to play. Yeah. If you have the other ones, it's going to be more timed. So
okay.
Yeah, whatever, dude. That's that. And we were thinking about, since this is a crazy slow summer and August is just a dry well of nothingness, we were going to do some of our games that we think you guys should play for each console. Hopefully we get through all the consoles before all the news ramps up, but we want to start with Xbox today, and we each came up with a list of 5 and an honorable mention. We're going to start from the bottom to the top. So honorable mention, then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If one of us has the same game, then we will talk about it there instead of talking about it twice.
But you have to yell,
you can mention it.
You have to yell Uno, right? Or Yahtzee? How does that work?
You got to yell Uno, and there's also a bingo chart if somehow play along at home. So print out the downloadable PDF
5 in
to
a
play
row.
along at home. 5 in a row. If you made the bingo and win, then you get to find the lucky turtle. Anyway, so we're gonna do that now. Microsoft had a really weird generation where, if you're counting exact exclusive games, I think there are only like 3. So we're not really talking about games that are just exclusive to Microsoft. We're talking about games that released as Microsoft exclusives. So Cuphead, Rise of the Tomb Raider, the original Titanfall. So these games might have been on PC, but we're talking about platform launch exclusives, the stupidest thing ever. But we're mainly just talking about games that were great on Xbox that you couldn't originally get elsewhere. And now, if you got a PC, you can ignore us or just check those out as well, because they're on everything, and especially PC. So what's your honorable mention for the Xbox, for this Xbox One generation?
Ori and the Blind Forest.
Ooh, that's a good one, man. That's an honorable mention for you?
Well, I mean, there's other games that I'm not good at platforming games, and so like that was one that I went back to over and over and over, like, you know, months later after each play. So I did enjoy it. It's a very beautiful game. It's very challenging, you know, especially if you're platform challenged like I am. But I don't know, if you were to ask me, like, what's a game that defines the capabilities of the Xbox One, I'd definitely mention Ori and the Blind Forest.
So this is on my list as well. Which one did you like more, Ori and the Blind Forest or Ori and the Will of the Wisps?
I haven't played Will of the Wisps. I literally finished the Blind Forest like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, since this is on my list, I'm not going to reveal the place, but I will talk about it right now. Ori and the Blind Forest is incredible. I think it and Will of the Wisps are 2 of the best Metroidvanias that released in the last 6 years, maybe with Hollow Knight and a few others. There's just not many that are as good. But yeah, I think it's incredible. The backtracking was fun. I think the first one had some flaws in that it didn't really, the backtracking was kind of messed up. Like, you couldn't do it. Like, you get to points and then it wouldn't allow you to backtrack, which I found very frustrating.
There was, you could do the travel stones, right? Where you can go from one place to the places you've already been. Wasn't that a feature they let you do?
So that was later. I didn't play. I played it right when it came out, so I didn't play the definitive edition. But yes, they allowed you to go to destroyed zones later. But when it first came out, once you did that final challenge, you couldn't go back. And I wanted to achievement hunt that game, but I didn't want to replay from scratch. So I ended up like just stopping there, and I was like, I'll play the definitive edition one day, and I should pick it up on Switch or something and play it because that game is fun, or just play it again on my Xbox. My honorable mention, and it's really just an honorable mention because like I have other games I like way more than it, but I just have to mention it, and I didn't know where else to put it. So this would be like a 10th place if we were doing a list of 10, but I'm just calling it my honorable mention. It is Crackdown 3.
Whoa.
Did you play that?
Whoa, Crackdown 3, the game that has been critically panned by everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
That surprises
I never
me.
touched the multiplayer. Yeah, I don't really care if the multiplayer exists. I'm sure it's whatever.
Okay.
I think the single player had co-op. I never played that either. But boy, I love me some Crackdown junk food. I like the idea of running around and just jumping and collecting orbs. I'm a platformer from when I was younger. Like I love the platformer games, loved the Mario 64s and Banjo-Kazooies, and this is in some ways an evolution of that. There's a lot of issues with it. I can't even recommend it to most people because I heard if you don't have an Xbox One X, it runs like crap. Didn't run necessarily great on Xbox One X. You cannot aim, if I remember. You have to lock on to shoot.
Jeez,
so it's like that's something I hate.
It's kind of annoying.
Yeah. So there's a lot of bad, but man, is it fun running around and jumping and upgrading your powers and jumping and crashing stuff and beating a boss and doing these like things. Like I did not 100% it, but I think I did everything that city had to offer outside of getting like all the orbs. Like I did all of the missions that you can do.
That's pretty high praise.
It was fun, man.
For you. I mean, that's like you usually don't really dive into everything a game has to offer. So I mean, I feel like this is something that people should play.
Yeah, I think for the free fact, if you have the Games Pass like service, why not? It's free. You don't need to touch the multiplayer. I never did. And it's only took like 8 hours to do everything the game had to offer, which was perfect. Because like I think more than that, it would have just like, oh man, I can't do this anymore. Because it doesn't change that much. The gameplay is very much like, do this thing. Oh, you now jump further. Oh, now your car's bigger, or now you have a jetpack. So like I dug it, man. Like there are way better games and games that I had better experiences with, but I don't think anyone's ever going to talk about Crackdown 3. So I had to put it as an honorable mention. I love the original Crackdown. I think 2 is garbage. But I think 3 is pretty fun. What's your 5th place game, my dude?
All right. So I know we talked about this kind of a timed exclusive, but I really enjoyed Rise of the Tomb Raider. I was hesitant to go back to Tomb Raider, so I didn't actually get the definitive edition till it was free for gold members.
Yeah.
And so I downloaded it then, and then I didn't touch it for 6 months just because like the old Tomb Raider games, like they were fun in some parts, but they were frustrating. Just the way that the camera worked in those games was a headache. And so like I was not too eager to go back to Tomb Raider, and then I played Definitive Edition, and then luckily this game came out, and we back when we were doing back in the when we were talking with Dr. Donna and Dave and all them, like this was a game that really like stuck out to me, and like it was the first time I had played a game like that. I actually wanted to go explore more. Like I'd go search for the tombs and try to get all the bonus content. Like it was a game that flowed really well. Like the gunplay flowed well. The narrative was really, really good. It told a really great story. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Like it felt like a game that I have. I kind of got a similar feeling when I played Uncharted, but like this was a game that it felt different to me, and I loved it.
Yeah, that's actually also my number 5. I just switched something on my list because I looked. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't have one of my favorite things. It's incredible. I think the reboot series was such a smart idea. Mm-hmm. I played some of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I did not get to the end of it. I think it's decent. I don't know. It doesn't have the same magic as 1 and 2.
Yeah. Well, what killed me about that was the story. Like there have been so many Mayan apocalypse games. Like it was just it needed. Yeah. It felt not original, I guess is the term I'm looking for. It didn't have the same like magic that the first two had.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rise of the Tomb Raider, like the original reboot was a blast. It was kind of at the end of the 360 life cycle. I played most of it there, never even finished it, which was a bummer. And then Rise came out, and it's like so, and not Rise Son of Rome, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider came out, and it's so beautiful, and it had just enough open world places to go that I was like, whoa, this is just so much fun. I loved exploring. I loved upgrading. I loved finding my way around. I loved the Metroidvania aspects of it, of finding new things, and that allows me to go to this new area, and this does this, and if I get this skin, then I can upgrade this pouch. Like, it's really, really good. It's probably one of the best third-person action-adventure games on Xbox One, and I would say it's probably up there for PlayStation 4, too, which is, I mean, that's like what the PlayStation console does. So you got to check this out. If you have PC, PlayStation, Microsoft Now, or Xbox, I mean, you got it. But it was an amazing launch exclusive. It actually came out the same year, I think, as Gears 4 did, and Forza Horizon 3, if I remember. That was like their big tentpole year. So that's actually my number 5. So with that, what's your number 4?
So I got another Rise on here, Son of Rome. So I know a lot of people dislike this game, but like I love hack and slash games. Like those are my favorite. I love Devil May Cry. Just anything where I get to have a melee weapon and I can roll around. Like that's why I love the new Star Wars game so much, is because I could swing my lightsaber, roll around, and do some cool Force stuff. With Rise Son of Rome, granted, it's not like the most ingenuitous game, but it was a good game to sit down and just kind of like not think and just press buttons. Like I felt it took me back to gaming, how gaming was when I was a kid, playing Streets of Rage and Eternal Champions and Golden Axe. Like that's what it felt like to me, and I enjoyed that.
It was, I mean, I think you're crazy for having it on your top 5 games list, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. Like, I think it was interesting. I'm like literally looking at a list. I just had to cut and cheat to get other stuff on this list that I want to talk about. But yeah, Rise Son of Rome, sure, man. That's a good one. It's good. You nailed it. It's a fun hack and slash. My number 4. Right? I don't have it.
Wait,
Did you have anything else you want to add?
Tell me. I know. I just want to know your number 4. Let's talk.
Okay. My number 4 is Gears 5. I totally fell off Gears of War 4. I am glad they changed to just being Gears. I did not think we needed Gears of War anymore, especially with God of War. I did not finish Gears 5. I'll be upfront. I got to Act 3. I really, really dug it. I don't know why I fell off. But to me, it was something so special. It was kind of the first major AAA Games Pass games where I was like, whoa, this is Microsoft's bringing it, and this was free, you know? So like, I loved it, man. I think it's a really, really well-made thing. That scene where you're it's Act 1 and you're going through the theater and they have that robot scene was like so cool.
Yeah.
I thought some of the sand skiff stuff and the ice skiff stuff was cool, but I definitely think that's where it stumbled. They had like a very empty open world, and it was neat for a bit.
That was my big complaint, is that the open world was like, it was cool and I liked it. I loved being out on the sand skiff, not on the snow part, but the second part where you're running around the desert and you have to like go through the tornadoes. Like that stuff's really cool, but there was really just nothing in this world, and it felt pointless to me.
Yeah. So I had that issue, and that kind of killed it. That, and then Microsoft just needs to do what Sony and everybody else is letting you do, and just let you save anywhere you want. They are big autosave people, and I think it's because they use the cloud to like upload and download your saves everywhere. So when you switch consoles or to PC, you always get to pick up where you left off instead of manually saving. But because of that, I had to redo a section in Gears 5. Like I set it down, and I guess it didn't checkpoint. And it was like a 45-minute section. And when I picked it back up, it's like, oh, you need to redo this. It's like, I don't have the energy. But it's not because I don't like that game, because I literally cut games off this list that I like a lot, that I think are incredible. But I think Gears 5 is special. And I think it was like really the first showcase of, hey, this is Games Pass. You're getting this. This is incredible. And it's like, whoa, yeah.
They did a good job at telling, like, I thought that when Dom died, I think it was Gears 3 when he drove the truck into the gas station. I thought that was like you know what I'm talking about? Is it
Gears 2 or 3?
2? Okay.
No. 2, you find out his wife is dead, I think. 3 is when, because I never finished 3, but I'm pretty sure he dies at the end.
Yeah, he does die in one of the games, but I thought that was the pinnacle of like emotional storytelling with Gears, and then you get to Gears 5 where there's a really important choice you have to make. I won't spoil it if you're still going to go out there and play it, but like there's a really important choice you have to make, and you're just like, oh man. And like, granted, it's one of those scenarios where like, okay, well, why couldn't you just prevent this from happening by doing something else? But yeah, there's still a point in there where like you're going to feel the ramifications in the next game. And like, I think Microsoft did a great job of kind of weaving that story. There are points in the narrative that don't make sense, and there's a lot of like, oh hey, we got to go to the missile silo, now we got to go back to the control center, now we got to go back and arm the missile again. Like, there's a lot of that stuff in there, and I'm not a fan, but this is it's a very beautiful game.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's fun. I think it's if you have a friend to play with, it would be incredible. I played most of it single player, which I think does kind of dampen the excitement, because I think if you have that co-op experience, it just, I can't even imagine how much fun it is.
Well, we played a few minutes.
We played a little bit, but we didn't get to do the whole game just because of time constraints and stuff. That's one of the games I have on this list. I mainly played co-op, and I don't think I would have finished it otherwise. But Microsoft's done a really good job of making most of their games multiplayer. Like, not always. I don't know if it's a thing from above or the independent studios being like, I want this to be co-op or whatever. But I feel like most of the Microsoft games are multiplayer. So, like, you have that option, and if you've got a friend to play it with, it makes a game that's decent become really, really good.
Yeah.
So that was my number 4. What's your number 3?
So funny we're talking about Gears. My number 3 is actually Gears 4, and it's not because there's really... Yeah, and it's not, and this is a weird one for me because it's not so much because like it's anything crazy special, but just because I have never found myself, in the midst of a franchise quote unquote reboot that really reinvigorated my interest in the franchise like Gears 4 did. So you get to Gears 3 and you're like, this is the end. Okay, cool. Has a decent ending, really confusing, still don't know who the Queen Lady is, but Gears 4 started, and you're like, okay, well, you're playing as Marcus's son, and you kind of like they examine that
Dom DeLuise. New character.
Dom DeLuise, yeah. But you're kind of like really examining the relationship between father and son right there, and it's, I don't know, it did a good job of making me interested in a series that I didn't think I would care to go back to after the last one.
Yeah, I wish I played more of it. It did seem like, because I played through the first act, it definitely gave me like a Fast and Furious style vibe, especially the motorcycle scene at the end of Act 1.
Yeah, that's true.
I dug it. No, I mean, I love Fast Furious, man. For me, that's like always a selling point.
Damn.
I think I did play some of the multiplayer when it came out, and that was pretty fun. I think the Gears games are always just like kind of fun. They're just fun games anyways. Yeah. There's a lot to them. If you want to do Horde, you can do that, or the single player, or the multiplayer. So it's like kind of like a Call of Duty in that you're not. Some people are probably coming to those games for totally different reasons. I normally come for the story.
Got their Horde mode and stuff like that. Like if there's one thing you can say about the Gears franchise is that it's got a lot of replayability to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is, like I said, it's that co-op thing. Like, you could play it once on your own, and then you play it with a friend again, and it's a blast. Mm-hmm. I played Gears of War 1 a ton of times because of that exact reason. So for my number 3, I cheated, but you'll understand how I cheated and why soon. So I'm putting the Halo Master Chief Collection as my number 3.
So you're using 5 games in
actually
one.
6, and I'm adding. I'm also going to cheat in another way. I'm going to pair Halo 5 with that as my all-encompassing.
Yeah,
I am. I have to. I've got to do it. I'll be quick about all. I'll be quick about all of them, but I feel like they do fit, because Halo Master Chief Collection, in my mind, is like just Halo. All first-person shooter Halo games encompass now, especially with when they added Reach and ODST and everything. It is like every game. I think it's just such an incredible collection. I never really had, I had a few problems right when it launched, like a couple server issues with getting into multiplayer and stuff, but I didn't have the internet felt like, oh, this game's broken, it doesn't work, and it sucks, and blah 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 blah. It's like, it was like for $60. I mean, you could have just sold the single player stories, and that still would have been a deal. But for what they did with the multiplayer and everything else, it was incredible. Then Halo 5.
I was going to say, you can go to Walmart right now and pick up the game for like $25, and you're still getting over $100 worth of games with that game.
Yeah, or you could pay $1 and play it on Games Pass for as long as you want. It's like literally such an insane deal. And I would suggest Games Pass route because I think if you go to Walmart, you still have to pay for ODST and Reach. You have to pay those for those as separate DLCs.
Super BS Gamescast, not the Super BS Saves Cast. All right, let's.
This is a Saves Cast. I'm all about saving that Skrilla. So yeah, I put that in, like, if I had to choose between it or Halo 5, of course, I'm going to choose Master Chief Collection because it's just more games. But Halo 5, for those who did not play it, because it is probably the most panned of all the Halo games, is a blast. It's fun. It's incredible. They added aim down sights. They added a sprint button. It is probably the most fun multiplayer suite I've ever played. I think the story is decent. I think the reason why I finished it is because I played co-op with my brother-in-law. It's just wonderful. It does not have you cannot play co-op on split screen, so you have to play online. So a lot of people are like, rah, 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 rah. But the game itself, still for $60, it's like as good as a Call of Duty easily. And those games always stay $60, and if you got $1, you can play on Games Pass. And that game is still just amazing. I don't know if either of these games are on your list. I feel bad for playing them both as 3, but I just wanted to talk about both the Master Chief Collection and Halo 5. And I think they're worth the $40 if you bought them separately, or the $1 if you got them through Games Pass. Totally worth it.
So the only thing about Halo 5 I remember is the end when he meets up with the Arbiter, and I remember you switch between the Spartan teams. So I don't know, I didn't like it, but that's
really
because I'm huge into the Halo story narrative, and I just saw a lot of missed opportunities with that because they had opened the book on the Forerunners, and that is crazy interesting, and I hate it how Halo does this thing where you have to go and read the books to find out what happens next in the story. And I know there's going to be a big gap between Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, but then again, I've only played it once, and that's the only Halo I've only played once. So it might be something I just need to go back to and kind of appreciate it for what it is.
So I think it was for me, the story is cool, but that's not really why I go to Halo games. I find them just fun to play. I think mechanically it's so much better than all of the Halo games because it's newest and they learn from so many of the past mistakes. I think it was supposed to be a very different game. I don't know if you remember this in 5, but they had outposts that you'd go to and you'd talk to people. I think it originally was supposed to be the game that Halo Infinite is becoming.
Yeah.
But probably just due to time and money because it has so much going on, it just didn't work out. Yeah. With that being said, I still think it's just a blast. And the story was whatever, but I still found it interesting enough where I was like, I'm kind of interested to see what happens. You know what I mean? I didn't play 4 at all. I fell off the boat on that. I did not care about the robots, and I felt like 4 started really weird on that space station. So I got through 2 missions, and I fell off that. So for me, Halo 5 was the first return to form. I feel like all the 4 games, Gears 4, Halo 4, I can't get into them. And then 5, I'm back at it. I'm like, yeah, I missed one. I'm ready. What is your second most recommended or your second favorite Xbox semi-exclusive?
Whoa, we just talked about it. Halo Master Chief Collection. It's the best. Dude. The biggest bang for your buck, when it comes to whether it's on Games Pass or whether you bought the physical edition of it. We will probably never see Sony do anything like that, whether for Killzone or Resistance or whatever their bigs are. But I think Microsoft really did a great job with Halo, and they listened to the fan feedback. They fixed all the problems. They gave you more. People said, I want ODST on there. They gave you ODST. People said, I want Halo Reach on there. They gave you Halo Reach. And not only did they give you Halo Reach, but if you look at the 360 version as opposed to the Master Chief Collection, the colors look a lot better. They did I don't know if they reskinned it or whatever it is, but I mean, it looks
They remastered it.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than the 360 version.
Yeah, so Sony did attempt this with the Uncharted collection. I don't think it's nearly as good as the Master Chief collection because Uncharted is mainly a single-player narrative game, and they did have multiplayer, I think, for 2 and 3, and I think that's in the collection. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about now 6 games, but even when it launched 4 games with full multiplayer suites versus 3 games with some multiplayer suites. And the fact is the Master Chief collection just keeps getting better and better and better. Whereas, the Uncharted collection is what it is. It released, it launched, came out. Microsoft has shown us that they really care about their games as a service style mentality. So their games just don't seem to die. And I'm hoping they're rewarded for that. I mean, we're going to find out what happens this next generation. But yeah, Master Chief Collection is incredible. If people don't have it, I would say either buy it or get on Games Pass or whatever. It's just such a good deal. If you like Halo at all, it's a blast.
Yeah.
My number 2, and this is also kind of a cheat, but I got to do it again. It's Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. We already talked about Blind Forest. I just have to real quick say Will of the Wisps is incredible. It did not run well at launch, which is when I played it, and I have an Xbox One X. It saw a lot of frame issues. Wasn't as bad as the internet complained, but it still had some issues. That being said, the artistry and just the aesthetics are gorgeous. I can't, thinking about that world and all the times, there's the ugly, spider caves and stuff you go into that aren't beautiful, but there's so many cool spaces where you go through water and they're just such vibrant colors and such a lush world. It was great. I did a lot of the stuff. I did everything that was reasonably easy to do. I don't think I 100%ed it. I don't think I got the top times on all the time trials, but everything where it's get the seeds or do this or do that or upgrade this, I did all that stuff because it was just fun. I just wanted to keep playing. But yeah, I don't know if you played that, but you should, because it's like I said, up there. Those 2 games and Hollow Knight are probably my favorite Metroidvania, adventure side-scrolling platformers for this in the past 6 years.
All right.
What is your number 1 game for the Xbox One?
Forza Horizon 4 is my number 1 game.
That's a very good game. That's not my number 1, but that's a very good game.
It was just it was the first time that I guess the first time in a long time I was excited to come home from work and play a video game. It just it made me feel good while playing it. Just in listening to the music, the way that every station they recorded dialogue for all these different radio stations they have, and the way that the seasons change and the just the being, I don't know, there's something too about being in the UK, just driving around the English countryside, there is so much attention to detail put into that game, and it was just the settings were so beautiful, and it
helps that Playground is a UK developer. Sorry about
it
off,
does.
Throw that out there.
No, for sure. But I mean, even the challenges too, finding the barns or whether you're doing the jumps and stuff like that. It's a very well put together game. And if you're not a fan of racing games, it has those open world elements that make it feel like it's much more than a car game. And I don't know. It was something I was looking forward to, but I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, and I just can't say enough good things about this game.
Yeah, I've only played a little bit about it. I can definitely see why it'd be your number 1. I think Microsoft hit it out of the park I think they acquired Playground Studios, who makes the Forza Horizon series, because they're working on the new Fable game.
They're making Fable,
They just got a great company that makes excellent racing games, especially in a world that we live in now where racing games are kind of a novelty. There's not as many of them as there used to be. There's very poorly made Need for Speed every once in a while, and then there's Forza. That's kind of it. yeah, I it's not my number one game, but I totally understand. It's beautiful and gorgeous, and the fact that you see all your friends as like ghosts, it's not really them playing, but it's kind of like a fun little.
I don't know, it feels like a challenge.
Yeah, you see people there, and you're like, hey, I know that person's name. They may not have even played the game, but they're there driving around. My number one is Cuphead. I mean, I think a lot of people probably could see that coming. Like, I was super excited for it. The year launch, it was like my third favorite game that year after Zelda and Breath of the Wild and Mario. So it's like one of the best games to ever come out. I've played it again since it came out. It's so well made. I would love a Cuphead 2. I think even the co-op, which is a little bit more zany than I normally like, is still fun. And again, another example of, out of all these games we've talked about, I think the only two that did not have multiplayer were Rise of the Tomb Raider and the Ori games. Otherwise, and Rise. You had Rise, Son of Rome. Yeah. Otherwise, all of these games have a multiplayer suite to them, which is kind of insane. I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima. I don't need multiplayer, but it doesn't have it. So if you don't want a single-player game, you're not going to play it. Yeah. Same with Last of Us Part 2, like the Last of Us original had a multiplayer suite. The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't. Maybe people didn't play it. Maybe it was too much money to make. But that's the one thing I see Microsoft doing over and over and over again, is stuff like that. Did you get to play Cuphead?
No, I didn't get to play Cuphead. I remember you and Dr. Donna talking about it quite a bit. It's
good.
I heard that it was really difficult, so that's what kind of like
it's crazy difficult.
Pushed me away from it.
It's like Dark Souls difficult, but the nice thing is the levels are really snappy and fast, and to beat a boss is normally 2 minutes, and you're not going to a boss, you just fight the boss. That's the only thing you do. You go fight the boss, you either lose or you win. And there's a couple of platforming levels here and there, and those are a lot better. I replayed them, and they're a lot better than I remembered. But yeah, it's just boss fights, and it's a blast. It's incredible. But honestly, after doing this, one of the things that I thought about today is like, Microsoft may not be Sony or Nintendo when it comes to, here's all these exclusives you can't get anywhere else. But they had a lot of great games this generation. I mean, we didn't even talk about Sea of Thieves. We didn't talk about Halo Wars. We didn't talk about Rare Replay, a game that I was super excited for that has tons of old Rare games. That's a blast. We didn't talk about the original Titanfall, which they still have the exclusive rights to. Like, there's more stuff that we didn't talk about. Dead Rising 3. I can never remember that other launch exclusive they had. They had quite a few games that came out at launch with Rise and Dead Rising 3. But yeah, man, it's been a good generation overall. These past 7 years have just been really, really fun.
It has. And, I'm one of those people you were talking about earlier that has the original Xbox One. And, like, it's lasted me all this time. Like, I've never had any issues with it outside the the really slow install times. But I mean, it's done better for me than the Xbox 360 did, and that's I don't know.
They learned their lesson. That's why they no more red rings, man. This was a much better created console. I'm curious how the Series X will hold up. It looks like they also made it quite large, so they don't have to worry about heating issues like the 360. But man, if we even get half this many exclusive games, and I think we will, because Microsoft bought a ton of studios. I think we're going to be looking at a really, really neat generation. And again, like we said, these games are on PC. Some of them are also on PlayStation and Switch. Cuphead, Ori, Rise, they're all on other stuff. But it doesn't make them not Xbox games. It doesn't make them a game that you don't think, that's Xbox. That was what I played on Xbox. That came out on Xbox. Just like Final Fantasy VII Remake will never be the game that you think, that's Xbox. It'll probably be on Xbox at some point or PC, but you're not going to think Xbox.
Yeah, of course.
Anything you want to add before we head out? And hopefully next week we'll do this for another console.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're good. I'm sure we'll talk about the state of play at some point. And,
probably next week we will probably talk about that. Maybe we'll do Sony as well, because I think, unless they announce something crazy, I think we have finished our PS4 only exclusives. I think there might be one or two big PS4 games, but I think they're also going to be PS5.
Yeah,
I don't think we have many more AAA games releasing for either console. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do some Grounded too. I'd love to talk about that on here. I'd love to play it too. So another
Yeah.
Microsoft game that we didn't even touch because we haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah.
Okie dokie, my doodly. I will talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.
Oh, yeah.